It was the most unbelievable moment Los Angeles had ever seen. In the heart of downtown, chaos erupted inside Jun Heng and Associates, the city's most prestigious law firm. Screams echoed through the glass corridors as an elderly janitor was mercilessly humiliated by the firm's ruthless elite. Amidst the turmoil, a young woman stepped forward, calm, determined, and utterly fearless. With a single, swift move, she intervened, turning the entire office upside down. Everyone watched in stunned silence as secrets were unveiled, revealing that this unassuming janitor was not just anyone. She was the CEO's own mother, hiding a powerful legacy. The room buzzed with disbelief and awe. How could this miraculous act change everything? Emotions ran high: shock, admiration, and an overwhelming sense of destiny. This was no ordinary day. It was the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would unite unlikely hearts and rewrite their lives forever. The old woman was known in the firm simply as Miss Gu, though no one bothered to ask for her full name. Many assumed she was newly arrived from overseas, her slight accent sometimes slipping out whenever she spoke English. In truth, Miss Gu had come from China to the United States 3 months ago, under circumstances few knew and none suspected. She watched the daily hustle and bustle at the law firm with a keen, almost mischievous glint in her eyes. While Miss Gu continued her task, a swirl of tension gathered nearby. A sleek-suited attorney named Tessa, ambitious, bold, and prone to showy displays of status, was gossiping with a few other associates. Spotting Miss Gu's bracelet again, Tessa couldn't help but leer.
Is that the latest Cartier design on your wrist, Miss Goo? Don't tell me you spent your entire year's wage on it. Or is it one of those fakes from a street vendor on Sunset Boulevard?
A few people snickered. Miss Gu, about to respond, simply offered a small smile. Before she could speak, a younger woman hurried over with concern in her eyes. She was Shen Nian, a sharp-witted Chinese-American lawyer who'd recently joined Jun Heng and Associates after completing her law degree. It was no secret that Shen Nian believed in fairness over social standing, an outlook that had made her a few friends, but also a few enemies, in a place so steeped in hierarchy.
Come on, let's not make assumptions. You don't know how she got that bracelet. And even if it was from a street vendor, humiliating her isn't very professional.
Oh, you're such a do-gooder, Shen Nian. This is why you and I aren't in the same social circle. Why bother protecting a complete stranger, especially one who might be carrying counterfeit goods?
Snickers arose once more from the small group. Undeterred, Shen Nian gently set a hand on Miss Gu's arm, leading her away from the sneers.
Don't mind them, Miss Gu. Some people think wearing expensive suits gives them the right to look down on others.
Miss Gu observed Shen Nian carefully, her eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and something that resembled approval.
You are very kind. Thank you.
Moments later, another figure approached, distinct from the flamboyant Tessa and her clique. He was Bai Hao, a Chinese-American attorney with a bright, friendly disposition. Though he rarely involved himself in office drama, he seemed to have a soft spot for Miss Gu, offering her warm nods whenever they crossed paths.
Are you all right? Don't mind Tessa. She thinks being loud makes her powerful.
Miss Gu waved off his concern. She was a picture of composure, politely stepping aside. Then, from the far end of the corridor, an authoritative voice boomed, a senior partner snapping orders, discussing depositions and briefs. Everyone scattered, hurrying to their next tasks. The brief confrontation ended, but the aftertaste of tension lingered in the air. Later that afternoon, Shen Nian retreated to her cubicle, a modest but tidy space. She had a reputation as a dedicated lawyer, though still somewhat junior in rank. She specialized in labor cases, and had recently gained some traction defending underpaid workers in downtown LA. Many of her colleagues thought it was a waste of talent, since the firm typically handled high-stakes corporate lawsuits. But Shen Nian found it rewarding to help ordinary people who were being pushed aside in a system that favored the rich and powerful. Flicking through case files on her laptop, she reflected on the day's awkward episode with Miss Gu. As she typed a few notes, she overheard two co-workers snidely discussing the low-class janitor with the fancy bracelet. She shook her head, hoping Miss Gu wouldn't catch wind of their unkind remarks. Just then, an office messenger approached her desk.
Attorney Shin, Miss Gu asked me to give you this note.
Shen Nian opened the folded paper. The handwriting was elegant, each stroke carefully penned. I am grateful for your help today. Would you join me for tea in the break room around 5? Miss Gu. Though perplexed, Shen Nian felt a curious tug at her heart. She recalled how Miss Gu had gracefully endured the ridicule. Any other person might have stormed off or retaliated. There was something unusual about Miss Gu, an air of quiet confidence that suggested she was more than she appeared. Meanwhile, across town, a private phone call took place in a gleaming penthouse suite overlooking the Los Angeles skyline. A tall young man with sharp features and impeccably tailored attire paced near the window. This was Gucci, a name whispered among certain circles as one of the rising stars in legal advocacy, though he had been practicing in New York for the past few years. Word on the street was that Gucci's family had deep roots in China and had built a global enterprise with ties to technology, finance, and real estate. Now, rumors swirled that Gucci would be relocating to LA to join, or possibly take over, Junheng and Associates. No one at the firm quite knew when. On the other end of the line was an older gentleman, voice low and reverent, addressing Gucci with unwavering deference.
Young master, are you sure you're returning this week? Madam, your grandmother, has been away from the main estate for 3 months, disguised as a janitor, no less. If you delay any longer, she may take matters into her own hands.
Gucci paused, stepping toward the window. He could see the sun casting a golden glow across the city, as if revealing infinite possibilities. Gucci, with a quiet chuckle.
You know, Grandma, she's determined. She said something about finding a suitable partner for me. But you and I both know it's not so simple.
Older gentleman, softly sighing.
She misses you, and she's worried you'll bury yourself in work so deep you'll never consider marriage. Please, come back soon. The firm is buzzing with your anticipated arrival.
Gucci ended the call with a faint smile, fully aware that once he showed up at Junheng and Associates, life there would never be the same. Back at Junheng and Associates, late afternoon, Shen Nian made her way to a small windowless break room near the rear of the floor. It was usually deserted by this hour. Most staff preferred the coffee machine in the open lounge, but as she entered, she noticed Miss Gu seated at a plain folding table, meticulously pouring tea into 2 little cups. Steam rose in gentle wisps. Miss Gu, beckoning Shen Nian to join.
Thank you for coming. You must be busy, so I appreciate your time. Please have some tea.
Shen Nian sat down, curiosity shining in her eyes. She couldn't help but feel that Miss Gu was not simply an ordinary janitor. Her posture was perfectly upright, and though she wore a simple uniform, she carried herself with the poise of someone used to commanding respect.
Of course. You don't owe me anything. I only did what any decent person would do.
That's exactly what makes you special. Most people here wouldn't have bothered to stand up for someone like me.
They sipped tea in companionable silence for a moment, letting the tension of the day ease. Then Miss Gu spoke gently, her tone shifting.
I've been working here incognito for personal reasons, but soon certain changes will happen at this firm. Changes that will have a huge impact on people like Tessa. People who measure a person's worth by wealth and status. Not everyone sees things your way. That's why I'm grateful for your kindness.
Shen Nian's brow furrowed with intrigue. Before she could question Miss Gu further, a hurried knock broke their quiet conversation. The door swung open, revealing Bai Hao again.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were meeting. Shen Nian, the senior partner, needs you in the conference room. Something about a new pro bono labor case. Migrant workers who need to sue their employer for back wages.
Shen Nian nodded, heart instantly at attention. Pro bono was precisely the line of work she found meaningful. She quickly thanked Miss Gu for the tea and rushed off, missing the wistful look Miss Gu cast after her. Later that night, inside a nearly empty office, Shen Nian stayed behind to prepare the new case. She sifted through forms, evidence, and witness statements. Junheng and Associates was usually about high-stakes corporate dealings, not about helping exploited workers reclaim their earnings. But someone on the partner track must have taken pity or seen a marketing angle. Either way, Shen Nian was determined to do her best. Exhausted, she finally rose to head home, only to find Miss Gu cleaning by the copier machine.
You're still here? It's getting late.
Miss Gu, with a light laugh.
I could ask you the same. Working overtime too?
They exchanged a smile that felt almost familial, the fluorescent lights flickering gently above them. In another corridor, a small group of associates, including Tessa, lingered well past their usual quitting time. Whispers flew about Junheng and Associates' future. An impending takeover, a new star lawyer set to arrive, rumored to be the legal world's white knight for women's rights. They also snickered about Miss Gu, convinced she was a nobody, yet they couldn't ignore the perplexing sense of authority in her manner. Tessa paused mid-whisper when she spotted Miss Gu again, now walking with Shen Nian. A sudden idea flashed across Tessa's mind, an idea about forging alliances, playing politics, ensuring she'd climb the corporate ladder. If Miss Gu was truly just a janitor, Tessa could humiliate her further and make a point. If, for some bizarre reason, Miss Gu had a hidden connection to someone powerful, Tessa would want to know that sooner rather than later. But for the moment, Tessa kept her suspicions to herself, content with shooting the pair a final disdainful glance before stepping into the elevator. Night fell over Los Angeles, its city lights stretching endlessly into the horizon. Little did anyone at Junheng and Associates suspect that by morning, a carefully orchestrated series of events would begin to unfold, one that would involve secrets, sudden promotions, dramatic confrontations, and a scandal that would shake the firm to its foundation. Yet, for now, Shen Nian simply trudged to her beat-up sedan in the underground parking lot, yawning as she clutched her case files. She had no inkling that her life would soon collide with Gucci, the rumored legal prodigy, nor that Miss Gu was, in fact, the matriarch of a powerful family empire. And, certainly, Shen Nian couldn't have predicted how these revelations would set her on a collision course with office bullies, hidden agendas, and an unexpected love that would challenge every assumption she'd ever held about marriage, social class, and loyalty. The story already stirring beneath the surface was about to bloom into full force, led by none other than Miss Gu, whose quiet presence masked an influence more formidable than any bright young attorney's ambition. By the time morning light filtered through the glass walls of Junheng and Associates, a sense of excitement and unease had taken hold of the entire firm. Rumors flew that Gucci, the prodigious lawyer who had once dazzled legal circles in New York, was finally arriving in Los Angeles to join the practice. Conversations buzzed in corridors and conference rooms. Is he really that brilliant? I heard his family is old money from China with major investments in Silicon Valley. They say he once negotiated a settlement with an American football team worth millions. Whatever the truth, everyone knew that Gucci's presence meant a shakeup. For those harboring ambitions or secrets, like Tessa, who thrived on backroom deals and elitist attitudes, Gucci's return felt like both an opportunity and a threat. Tessa, perched at her glossy workstation, skimmed through her email while gossiping with her favorite confidant, Harvey, an equally ambitious associate who craved a promotion. They traded rumor after rumor, weaving half-truths into sensational stories. Meanwhile, Shen Nian reviewed the newly acquired pro bono case from the night before. Dozens of migrant workers seeking unpaid wages. She was determined to help them, but she worried that with all the office politics swirling, no one would grant her the time or resources. Shen Nian, muttering under her breath,
I promised Miss Gu I would fight for justice, But does this firm even care about labor rights when there are million-dollar deals at stake?
She sighed, pressing her fingers to her temples. Sleep had been elusive for her after the late-night meeting with Miss Gu. A single question kept looping in her mind. What is Miss Gu really doing here? Suddenly, Shen Nian's computer pinged, a new directive from the senior partners. Her eyebrows lifted in surprise. She was requested to assist on a high-profile acquisition case involving a major tech company. The same company was rumored to be run by an American CEO who was a huge Elon Musk devotee, known for aggressively expanding his LA-based robotics firm. This assignment was quite the promotion for a junior lawyer like Shen Nian. Shen Nian, to herself, surprised.
Why would they pick me for something like that?
Before she could even process the good news, her phone rang. It was Bai Hao, the friendly attorney she'd chatted with the evening before. Bai Hao, excited.
Shen Nian, did you see the email? You and I are both assigned to this new case under Gucci's direction.
Shen Nian, still in disbelief.
Under Gucci? He's not even officially here yet.
Well, rumor is he's about to make a grand entrance. The senior partners are pulling out all the stops. We have a preliminary team meeting in the main conference room in an hour. You better get ready.
Shen Nian's heart thumped. If she joined Gucci's special team, she'd have a chance to do meaningful work and maybe glean exactly why Miss Gu was so interested in her. An hour later, the entire firm congregated in the sleek skylit conference room on the 20th floor. Glass walls revealed panoramic views of downtown Los Angeles, with the skyscrapers shimmering in the hazy sun. Normally, only senior partners and prized clients occupied this space, but today, even the interns had been summoned to line the back, hopeful to catch a glimpse of Gucci. Just before the meeting was due to start, the doors slid open. In strode a tall man in a tailored navy suit, exuding quiet self-assurance. Even those who had never seen him before instantly recognized him, Gucci. He paused at the head of the long oak table, letting his gaze travel over the group. Gucci, with a measured, cool tone.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for assembling on short notice. As of today, I'll be leading Junheng and Associates' non-litigation practice. We're focusing on large-scale mergers, acquisitions, and compliance. I intend to recruit a dedicated in-house team. Our first major project will be finalizing the robotics merger with IonTech Solutions, based here in LA. Bai Hao and Shen Nian, step forward.
Shen Nian felt a rush of nerves. She smoothed her blazer and moved to stand beside Bai Hao. Tessa, who had been skulking near the back, frowned deeply. Why hadn't she been chosen? She shot a sour glance in Shen Nian's direction. Gucci, addressing the room but focusing on Bai Hao and Shen Nian.
I trust your capabilities. This is a high-stakes deal involving advanced drone technology, something IonTech has been testing out in Northern California to help monitor wildfires. Let's do our best, not only for our firm, but for the public interest. Understood?
Shen Nian, momentarily stunned by the gravity of his words, nodded.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Gu. I mean Attorney Gu. I look forward to contributing.
Without further ado, Gucci dismissed the meeting, leaving everyone either thrilled or worried. As the crowd dispersed, Tessa cornered Harvey. Tessa, whispering, livid.
Why does Shen Nian get all the luck? Did you see how Gucci singled her out? What's her secret anyway?
Harvey shrugged, equally perturbed. They watched Shen Nian gather up her files and hurry after Bai Hao, evidently summarily accepted into Gucci's new project. They had no idea that Shen Nian's real connection stemmed from Miss Gu, or that Miss Gu was about to shake their comfortable little world. Shortly after, in a quiet corridor leading to the partners' offices, Miss Gu appeared. No one gave her more than a passing glance. Her janitorial cart squeaked softly against the polished floor, an unassuming figure in a plain uniform. Then, quite suddenly, she steered her cart into one of the largest corner offices, where Gucci had just settled behind his new mahogany desk. Gucci, lifting his head, smiling privately.
Grandma, you found me.
He rose, shutting the door behind her, effectively blocking the prying eyes of any curious onlookers. Miss Gu set aside her mop and gently removed a baseball cap from her head. allowing a few silver strands to fall free.
I see you've decided to make your move official. Have you found the wife you promised you'd consider?
Gucci exhaled, looking almost sheepish, a stark contrast to his confident boardroom persona.
Grandma, can we not start this discussion here?
Miss Gu, with a twinkle in her eye.
Why not? This is precisely where it should happen, so your employees understand that their beloved janitor outranks every senior partner here.
There was silence for a beat. Then Miss Gu continued, voice softening.
I've met a truly good-hearted person, by the way. She defended me in front of those silly office snobs. Shen Nian is her name.
At that, Gucci's expression turned thoughtful. He paced to the broad window overlooking the city, hands behind his back.
I've heard of her. She was assigned to my team just now. Grandma, are you trying to matchmake again?
Miss Gu, chuckling.
Well, I am your grandmother. And if you don't settle down, who will carry on our family's legacy in Los Angeles? Besides, it wouldn't be such a poor match. She's capable, decent, and unafraid to stand up for justice. Reminds me of your mother when she was young.
Gucci offered a tiny smile. He respected Shen Nian's work ethic and moral compass, though the notion of an arranged marriage sounded outdated. Still, Miss Gu rarely gave poor advice. He couldn't dismiss the idea entirely. Shortly after, as Miss Gu left Gucci's office, Tessa sidled by, trying to eavesdrop. She heard the tail end of Miss Gu's sentence, something about legacy and marriage. Tessa frowned in confusion, but Miss Gu offered her no explanation. Instead, Miss Gu glided by with her cleaning cart, meeting Tessa's eyes with an enigmatic nod that made Tessa's stomach twist. From the opposite side of the corridor, Shen Nian approached, carrying a stack of contracts. The two women nearly collided. Shen Nian, smiling politely.
Oh, Miss Gu, I was just looking for you. I wanted to thank you for the note and the tea yesterday.
Miss Gu, in her usual gentle tone.
My pleasure, dear. Now that you're on the new team, I trust you'll flourish.
Tessa, cutting in, perplexed.
Miss Gu, are you done cleaning the corner office? Maybe don't stand in the middle of the hallway. People are trying to work.
If Miss Gu noticed the acid in Tessa's tone, she made no sign. Instead, she turned to Shen Nian again.
Stay determined in your work. People will try to pull you down, but you have the skill to rise. Keep fighting for those who have no voice.
With that, Miss Gu moved away, leaving Tessa and Shen Nian alone. Tessa's lips curled into something resembling a sneer. Tessa, sarcastic whisper.
Interesting how the new start lawyer, Gucci, sets his sights on you for his project, and the janitor seems to adore you. Don't let it get to your head.
Shen Nian frowned, feeling the sting of Tessa's hostility. She clutched her files, ignoring Tessa's barb as best she could. But a question nagged at the back of her mind. What exactly was Miss Gu's connection to Gucci? That afternoon, while working on the IonTech merger, Shen Nian also tried to handle her pro bono labor dispute. She reviewed statements from Chinese, Mexican, and African immigrant workers who had been stiffed on their wages by a local construction company. Their plight tugged at her heart. These were people with families, rent, and medical bills to cover. Jun Heng and associates rarely took such cases, but Miss Gu had indirectly encouraged her to see this through. Just when Shen Nian was about to finalize a letter to the construction company's attorney, Harvey ambled over with a smirk.
Word is you're too busy with the IonTech deal. Guess you won't have time for these do-gooder stunts anymore.
Shen Nian defensively.
It's not a stunt, Harvey. We have an obligation to take on pro bono cases. Even big law firms like ours have moral duties.
He shrugged, leaning forward with a conspiratorial air.
Be careful. If you keep associating with Miss Gu, you might be biting off more than you can chew. People are saying she's got some unusual pull around here.
Before she could demand an explanation, Harvey darted away. Anxiety pricked Shen Nian's mind. She hated the swirl of half-truths and insinuations. Nothing about Miss Gu felt dangerous. Mysterious? Yes. But dangerous? She doubted it. That very evening, just as staff began logging off their computers and gathering their belongings, a sudden commotion erupted near the elevator bank. Mu Qing, a stylish woman in designer attire and a very expensive necklace, strode in as though she owned the place. Several associates recognized her from social gatherings or social media posts, claiming she was close to Gucci. Eyes turned toward her with curiosity and wariness. Mu Qing, her voice dripping with confidence.
I'm here to see my dear friend Gucci. I heard he's rejoined the firm. Is he in his new office?
The front desk receptionist, startled, glanced at her sign-in sheet. Receptionist. Well, Miss Mu, he's currently in a meeting, if you could wait. But Mu Qing didn't wait. She brushed past the desk, ignoring the protests, and marched straight toward Gucci's corner office. Half the floor gawked, including Tessa and Shen Nian. Tessa, quietly, to Shen Nian.
That's Mu Qing from the Mu family. Filthy rich. I heard she's engaged, or was engaged, to Gucci in some sort of arrangement. Could be trouble.
Shen Nian felt her stomach twist. Engagement to Gucci? She recalled Miss Gu's cryptic remarks. Could Miss Gu have been trying to break that engagement, or was she the one who orchestrated it? Moments later, Mu Qing flung open the office door. Gucci looked up from his desk, a mix of shock and mild annoyance flickering across his normally composed features.
Mu Qing, you could have called first.
Mu Qing, pouting.
If I had, you'd never have let me come. I had to see you. I'm not giving up so easily on us.
Outside in the hallway, Tessa and Harvey craned their necks to see. Even Shen Nian found herself unable to resist inching closer, though she kept a respectful distance. The tension was palpable. To everyone's astonishment, Miss Gu arrived a split second later. It was as if she materialized from thin air, though, in truth, she'd been following Mu Qing from a short distance, concerned about her intentions. Miss Gu stepped between Mu Qing and Gucci, arms folded. Miss Gu, firmly.
That's enough, Mu Qing. We ended any arrangement with the Mu family years ago. Gucci is free to choose his own path, especially when it comes to marriage.
Mu Qing's eyes flickered with indignation. In a dramatic flourish, she pulled at the necklace around her throat, a sparkling sapphire pendant rumored to be the heart of the ocean, said to have cost millions at an auction. Gasps rippled among the staff crowding the hallway. Mu Qing, in a haughty tone.
Then explain why I have this, personally gifted by Gucci during one of his business trips. Does that look like the behavior of a man who's given up?
A hush fell over the watchers. Even Tessa, who loved stirring up trouble, seemed momentarily speechless. Finally, Gucci stepped forward, voice level.
I did purchase that necklace, but not for you, Mu Qing. It was intended for someone else.
He shot Miss Gu a pointed glance, silently urging her not to reveal more than necessary, but Miss Gu had her own plans. Miss Gu, clearing her throat.
That necklace was meant for my grandson's future wife, and that wife is not you.
Several onlookers gasped at the realization. Miss Gu was Gucci's grandmother, not a janitor. Tessa's mind spun, recalling how she and her cronies had demeaned Miss Gu. Harvey looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. For Shen Nian, the pieces slowly fell into place. Miss Gu was the revered matriarch of the Gu family, incognito for months, and she'd singled out Shen Nian for reasons that were becoming all too clear. Seething with anger, Mu Qing retreated a step, still clutching the necklace. Then she cast a withering glare toward Shen Nian, who lingered in the hallway. Mu Qing pointed an accusatory finger.
You're the one everyone's talking about, the one Gucci handpicked for this big Ion Tech case. Don't tell me you're the nobody who's replaced me.
Shen Nian, startled, quickly shook her head.
I have no idea what you mean. I'm just a junior attorney at this firm.
Mu Qing, laughing bitterly.
A junior attorney. Perfect, so unthreatening, so common. The Gu family would never let that happen unless...
She turned swiftly to Miss Gu, eyes narrowing. Mu Qing, voice trembling with rage.
You can't be serious. You want her for Gucci? This is humiliating. My father will hear about this betrayal.
Gucci spread his hands, urging calm.
Mu-Ching, please, let's end this drama. We have no formal engagement. My grandmother's decision trumps any old arrangement left in the dust.
At that moment, Miss Gu broke the tension by walking out into the corridor. She spotted Tessa and Harvey among the nervous onlookers, and her gaze landed at last on Shen Nian, the one person who hadn't looked at her with scorn. Miss Gu, addressing the crowd,
I'd like to announce that from this day forward, I'm revealing my identity. My name is Gu Huaying, majority shareholder and matriarch of the Gu family. I've used these past 3 months to observe how this firm treats people of lesser social standing.
frowns, gasps, shifting feet. People exchanged panicked glances. Miss Gu continued in a calm, clear voice.
And in that time, only a few showed kindness and fairness. Shen Nian is one of them, and I won't forget it. The rest of you should reflect on your behavior.
She then turned to Shen Nian, her eyes warm.
If you wish, you have my full support to pursue any case you deem worthy, be it Iontech or those migrant workers who need an advocate. The Gu family stands behind you.
Shen Nian blinked in disbelief, feeling tears threaten the corners of her eyes. She never imagined that offering help to a seemingly low-level employee could blossom into such a show of gratitude and faith. Yet, her heart pounded with self-conscious dread. Was Miss Gu also implying that she wanted Shen Nian to step into a more personal role in the Gu family? Tensions came to a head when Mu-Ching, gripping the Heart of the Ocean necklace, tried to elbow past Miss Gu. She marched up to Gucci, voice trembling with equal parts fury and desperation. Mu-Ching,
You can't humiliate me like this. I'm the rightful woman by your side. This is the United States, for goodness sake. You can't just ignore our family's ties because your grandmother says so.
Gucci's eyes hardened. He took a slow breath, carefully choosing his words.
In America, marriage is a personal choice. Arranged unions have no legal standing if the parties don't consent. You know this as well as I do. Our families may have had alliances once, but times have changed. For the sake of the future, let go of the past.
In a last-ditch effort, Mu-Ching held up a legal document, brandishing it like a sword.
This contract states that if the Gu and Mu families ever merge assets, your law firm stands to gain major equity in the Mu family's real estate developments. Our partnership could make this entire firm unstoppable. You'd throw that away for some unknown attorney?
For a fleeting moment, the watching associates collectively held their breath. Some were obviously tempted by the Mu family's wealth. Then Miss Gu spoke, final and unwavering.
We don't need your real estate. The Gu family won't be bought. Now kindly leave, or I'll have security escort you out.
Spinning on her heel, Mu-Ching stormed out, tears threatening to spill, but overshadowed by her fierce pride. In her wake, an uneasy hush settled over the corridor. One by one, onlookers crept back to their desks until only Miss Gu, Gucci, Shen Nian, and Bai Hao remained. Softly, Miss Gu turned to Shen Nian again, placing a gentle hand on the younger woman's shoulder.
Shen Nian, dear, you must have many questions. I suggest we talk. After the Iontech negotiations, of course. There's much to discuss.
With that, Miss Gu headed down the hallway, pushing her old janitorial cart, out of habit perhaps, though it was abundantly clear she was no mere cleaner. Bai Hao exhaled, looking at Shen Nian like she had grown wings overnight. Bai Hao, in awe,
You're in the matriarch's good graces. That's unbelievable. Listen, if it's too much pressure, let me know if I can help. Friends.
Shen Nian managed a nod, offering him a faint, grateful smile. Finally, she turned her gaze to Gucci, who stood quietly in the corridor. Despite the swirl of drama, he seemed calm, almost amused. Shen Nian, softly,
I appreciate your confidence in me for the Iontech deal, but I didn't ask for any of this. I don't want to exploit your grandmother's generosity.
Gucci studied her a moment, his voice gentle, yet resolute.
My grandmother is rarely wrong about people. She obviously sees something in you, and so do I.
Heat rose to Shen Nian's cheeks. Caught between gratitude and confusion, she could only manage an awkward nod before stepping away, the documents clutched in her arms. No matter what Miss Gu intended, or how Tessa, Harvey, and Mu Qing would retaliate, Shen Nian decided she'd hold fast to her principles. Her mission was to advocate for those in need, even if her personal life was about to unravel in ways she couldn't have predicted. The day eventually wound down, leaving Shen Nian behind in her office, finishing up last-minute details for the Ion Tech case. Out the window, Louisiana's skyline glittered with promise. It felt surreal how quickly her role at Junheng and Associates had shifted, from a mere labor case lawyer to a key player in a multi-million-dollar negotiation, and the supposed object of Miss Gu's matchmaking. As she closed her laptop, an unexpected memory surfaced. Miss Gu shyly offering tea, gratitude shining in her eyes. Shen Nian smiled to herself. There might be politics and pretenses in this world, but some things, like genuine kindness, could break through even the toughest facades. Shen Nian, quietly, to the empty room.
I'm not sure what tomorrow holds, but I'll keep doing what's right.
In a different part of L.A., Mu Qing brooded in a lavish penthouse, making phone calls to powerful friends. Tessa and Harvey convened in a dimly lit restaurant, plotting how best to align with whichever side emerged victorious. And Miss Gu? She made a discreet phone call to someone in New York, ensuring her quiet support for Shen Nian's labor rights case, and mentally drafting a plan to unite Shen Nian and Gu Qi in both business and life. Across the city, the swirl of alliances, betrayals, and unexpected romance built like the Santa Ana winds before a storm. When morning came, the true climax would begin, where hearts, ambitions, and destinies collided in a battle no one could have fully foreseen. The sun rose over Los Angeles with a distinct golden warmth. Despite the city's usual buzz of traffic and business, Junheng and Associates felt more electric than ever. Word had spread overnight about the dramatic confrontation between Mu Qing and Gu Qi, and the revelation that the kindly janitor, Miss Gu, now revealed as Gu Huaying, matriarch of the Gu family, had chosen Shen Nian for her grandson's future. Whispers and glances filled the hallways, each staffer wondering if today would bring more surprising twists. Yet, in the midst of speculation, real tasks awaited. Shen Nian stepped into the firm early, determined to keep her promise to the group of migrant workers who depended on her. She also had the upcoming meeting with Ion Tech Solutions, a high-profile client that Gu Qi had entrusted to her. Balancing these two responsibilities felt like walking a tightrope. One wrong move, and both her reputation and her client's hopes might tumble. Stifling a yawn, Shen Nian booted up her laptop in a small conference room she'd commandeered for privacy. She laid out her notes on the Ion Tech deal, side by side with the pro bono case files. The Ion Tech deal, a multi-million-dollar merger that could reshape the tech industry's approach to wildfire monitoring. The migrant workers' lawsuit, a fight for fair wages in the construction sector, pitting underprivileged laborers against a powerful, unscrupulous contractor. While scanning her notes, Bai Hao popped his head into the room, his usually cheerful face tinged with anxiety. Bai Hao, hushed tone.
Shen Nian, there's been a complication. IonTech's CEO is requesting a last-minute meeting this morning instead of this afternoon. Gu Qi's also been called away to handle urgent paperwork downtown, so it's basically on us to represent the firm.
Shen Nian felt her stomach clench. She was confident in her legal acumen, but leading such a major negotiation without Gu Qi present would be a trial by fire. Shen Nian, taking a steadying breath.
Okay, I'll handle it. Let's prep. And after that, I need to see if I can finalize something for the wage case as well. Those workers have a hearing soon.
I'm with you. Let's show everyone why Madame Gu Huaying picked the right people.
A hint of excitement danced in his eyes. Despite the pressure, Bai Hao trusted Shen Nian's fierce dedication and gift for advocacy. Meanwhile, in a corner of the firm's sleek lobby, Mu Qing sat on a plush couch, phone pressed to her ear. She spoke in rapid-fire Mandarin, her words edged with desperation. Mu Qing whispering into the phone.
Father, you must intervene. Gucci is slipping through my grasp because of that woman and his meddling grandmother. You said we had a contract with the Gu family. Why won't they honor it?
Her father's voice on the other end was stern, but Mu Qing pressed on, explaining how crucial it was to salvage their alliance. She concluded the call with trembling hands, hissing under her breath. Mu Qing to herself.
If I can't have Gucci, I'll make sure no one else profits from this. Let's see how they handle a scandal that threatens both their precious Ion Tech deal and that labor case.
Rising to her feet, Mu Qing strode out with the same unbridled confidence she'd displayed before, though now she moved like a cornered predator planning something reckless. Late morning found Shen Nian and Bai Hao in Junheng's largest boardroom, waiting for the Ion Tech representatives. At precisely 10 a.m., the glass doors swung open to reveal Claire Rosen, Ion Tech's CFO, and Tom Parker, its formidable CEO. Tom was well known around LA for idolizing innovators like Elon Musk. He carried that same brusque, visionary aura. Tom Parker, taking his seat, voice resonating.
Where's Gucci? I was hoping to finalize everything with him personally.
Shen Nian forced a professional smile, pushing aside any nerves.
Attorney Gu was called to a pressing engagement. He sends his regards and full confidence in my ability to secure the best outcome. Please, let's proceed.
Tom blinked, studying her. Then he shrugged and motioned for Claire to begin. Though initially skeptical, Tom soon discovered that Shen Nian was prepared. She deftly addressed Ion Tech's concerns about compliance, the firm's strategic goals, and potential expansions to other states prone to wildfires, like Arizona and Nevada. Slowly, Tom's posture relaxed. But just as the contract signing drew near, the boardroom door cracked open. A junior associate hurried in, apologizing profusely. Junior associate, breathless. I'm sorry, Miss Shen. We have an urgent development in your labor case. The construction company's lawyer is threatening to file a defamation suit unless we drop the wage claim immediately. Claire Rosen exchanged a quizzical glance with Tom, picking up on the tension. Shen Nian, maintaining composure.
Thank you. Please stand by. I'll address it as soon as we conclude here.
Seeing Shen Nian juggle two pressing legal matters at once, Tom suddenly leaned forward, intrigued.
This labor case, you're representing migrant workers? You're not just a mergers and acquisitions attorney?
I focus on justice wherever it's needed. My responsibilities at this firm don't limit me to corporate deals. Regardless of their background, people deserve fairness.
The slightest hint of respect flickered in Tom's eyes. He sat back, nodding slowly.
All right, let's finalize the IonTech merger. Then if you need any resources to handle that worker's claim, IonTech is open to philanthropic partnerships. We've been searching for a meaningful community project here in LA.
That moment felt like a victory, professionally and personally. With IonTech's good faith interest in possibly aiding local labor disputes, Shen Nian glimpsed a future where big business and social conscience didn't have to clash. Yet somewhere in the corridors of Junheng and Associates, trouble brewed. No sooner had the IonTech representatives departed with handshakes and smiles than chaos erupted. Tessa sprinted into the boardroom, wide-eyed and waving a sheaf of documents. Tessa, voice shaking with excitement or fear, it was hard to tell.
Shen Nian, there's a problem. Mu Qing claims she has evidence that you leaked confidential information about the Ion Tech deal. She's threatening to send it to a local news channel if you don't step down from the firm immediately.
Bai Hao's jaw dropped in outrage.
That's absurd. Shen Nian would never. She's the one who just sealed the deal. How can anyone believe she leaked it?
But Tessa's expression remained grave.
Apparently, it's doctored emails, messages that supposedly came from your account. She wants you gone, or else she'll destroy Junheng's reputation. And Mu Qing is claiming this is your tactic to sabotage the Gu family, so you can manipulate the old lady and Gucci for personal gain.
Shen Nian felt ice flood her veins. It was the second time someone had accused her of leaking confidential data. Previously, Yao Meng had tried to frame her for a different breach. Now, Mu Qing was hurling an even bigger allegation, apparently with falsified records that might look genuine to the untrained eye. Shen Nian, quiet anger.
Where is she? I'm not letting her spread lies without a fight.
Tessa, glancing uneasily at the door.
She's near the main lobby with a group of reporters from a local station. Says she'll go live in an hour if we don't comply.
Then let's go. We'll disprove her immediately.
A short time later, Shen Nian and Bai Hao arrived in the firm's vast marble-floored lobby, which boasted tall windows overlooking the bustling LA streets. There stood Mu Qing holding court with two local reporters. Microphones and cameras at the ready, they were eager to chase the scent of scandal. Mu Qing, raising her voice dramatically.
Yes, it's all in these emails. I can prove Shenyang colluded with IonTech's rivals to orchestrate a leak. The Gu family is being defrauded by a con artist who pretends to be a champion of the underprivileged.
A few onlookers gasped. Some junior employees stepped back nervously. Shen Nian marched up, refusing to be intimidated. Shen Nian, level, though her heart hammered.
Mu Qing, if you truly believe your own claims, you'd file a legal complaint, not stage a media circus.
With a venomous glare, Mu Qing thrust forward a packet of printed screenshots.
Oh, I will. And once this goes viral, the Gu family won't dare keep you around. You'll be completely disgraced.
Before Shen Nian could respond, a voice rang out, a voice that commanded immediate respect. Miss Gu, clear and measured.
I would caution you against hurling accusations without proper evidence. Defamation is a serious matter in this country.
All heads turned to see Miss Gu, no longer sporting her janitor's uniform, but dressed in an elegant pantsuit. Standing beside her, imposing and calm, was Gucci. He had hurried back the moment he heard about Mu Qing's stunt. Together, they emanated an almost regal authority. Gucci, quietly stern.
Mu Qing, we ended things amicably. There was no promise of a merger between our families. Stop using the media to push a false narrative.
Mu Qing scoffed, but Miss Gu held up a hand, halting her protest.
Here at Junheng and Associates, we keep extensive digital security logs. Not only do they confirm that Shen Nian's account was never breached from within the firm, but we also have forensics teams analyzing these so-called emails you're waving around. Shall I call them down to speak with the reporters?
For a long beat, Mu Qing's facade cracked. Nervousness flashed in her eyes. She hadn't expected Miss Gu to have immediate access to expert investigators. While Mu Qing stammered, the reporters exchanged uncertain looks, sensing the story might be turning against them. Seizing the moment, Tessa stepped forward, surprising everyone. Her face showed more remorse than glee now. Tessa, voice shaky.
I have a confession. I overheard Mu Qing offering to pay Yao Meng and some other employees to tamper with Shen Yan's account. They threatened the IT manager to keep quiet. I kept silent until now because Mu Qing promised me a partnership opportunity if I helped isolate Shen Yan, but I can't let an innocent person be ruined.
A hush descended. Even Mu Qing was momentarily struck dumb. Then, in a fury, she pointed at Tessa, voice shrill.
You traitor! I can't believe you'd go against me. You'll regret this.
But it was too late. The reporters pressed forward, cameras capturing every word. With Tessa's admission and Miss Gu's forensic evidence, Mu Qing's plot to discredit Shen Nian lay in shambles. Security staff gently urged the reporters and Mu Qing to step outside. As Mu Qing was escorted out, she spat one last venomous stare at Shen Nian. Mu Qing, under her breath.
This isn't over. Mark my words.
The lobby gradually cleared, leaving Miss Gu, Gucci, Shen Nian, Bai Hao, and a handful of stunned onlookers. Tessa, still reeling, murmured a final apology to Shen Nian before slinking away, likely fearful of the consequences of her actions. That left a sudden quiet, broken only by the hum of the air conditioning. Shen Nian, releasing a shaky breath.
Thank you, Miss Gu. And you too, Gucci. I'm not used to being under such attack.
Miss Gu's features softened into a kind smile.
You've proven your worth time and time again, child. My first impression of you was correct. You don't falter in the face of injustice.
Gucci stepped closer, speaking so only Shen Nian would hear.
You've survived a trial by fire. not just with the Ion Tech deal, but with the labor case and Mu Qing's schemes. It seems every time trouble arises, you stand firm. I admire that more than words can say.
There was a moment, fleeting yet poignant, where Shen Nian saw the sincerity in Gucci's eyes. She recalled Miss Gu's matchmaking hints and felt warmth spread in her chest, no longer a sense of dread but of genuine possibility. Shen Nian, quietly smiling.
This is a lot to take in, but I appreciate your faith in me, truly.
Miss Gu let out a bright, cheerful laugh, prompting Bai Hao to grin.
Well, there's no better time for a celebration. Not only did we seal Iontech's deal, but Shen Nian's name is fully cleared. In fact, I believe it's time we discuss a proper recognition of all your efforts and—
She raised an eyebrow mischievously at Gucci.
maybe some personal announcements.
Shen Nian blushed, fiddling nervously with her folder of papers. Gucci looked at his grandmother with an indulgent smirk.
Grandma, you never miss a chance, but yes, we do have an announcement.
Those gathered listened intently. Bai Hao gave Shen Nian a playful nudge, murmuring, "Go on, do it," under his breath. Gucci, to Shen Nian, gently taking her hand.
I know this is sudden, but we've been through more together in the past few weeks than many people experience in a lifetime. You value what's right, you're fiercely capable, and you have my grandmother's heart. I'd like to know if you'd consider building a future together.
Emotions caught in Shen Nian's throat. For years, she'd believed only in her career and standing up for the little guy. She'd faced heartbreak and disappointment before. Yet, here stood a man offering partnership, respect, and love in equal measure. Shen Nian, soft but sure.
Yes, I'd like that very much.
Cheers erupted among onlookers, and Miss Gu clasped her hands, tears shining in her eyes. Bai Hao pumped a fist in excitement. In the days that followed, Shen Nian applied the same passion and skill to concluding the migrant workers' wage dispute. With newfound backing from Iontech's philanthropic interest and Miss Gu's quiet financial support, she built a robust case. The unscrupulous construction boss caved once he realized Jun Heng and Associates was fully committed to seeing justice done. The workers received their back pay and damages. In an emotional meeting at the firm, they thanked Shen Nian, some even kneeling in gratitude until she gently lifted them up, insisting this was just her job. Migrant worker representative, voice quavering. You do more than most lawyers here, Miss Shen. We will never forget your kindness. Shen Nian's throat tightened. She glanced at Miss Gu, who gave a nod of approval. This was precisely the kind of outcome Miss Gu had envisioned when she observed the law firm from the ground up, searching for genuine goodness in a sea of ambition. A week later, in a lush garden behind Miss Gu's sprawling LA estate, a small gathering took place under twinkling fairy lights. The city skyline glimmered in the distance, but here an air of intimacy ruled. It wasn't a full-blown wedding yet, more of an engagement celebration, though Miss Gu had plans in motion for something grand down the line. Friends and colleagues, those who had stood by Shen Nian, were invited. Bai Hao joked that he'd officiate the wedding himself if they couldn't find a suitable chaplain. Tessa, still remorseful, made a brief appearance to apologize in person for her complicity. While trust wouldn't be rebuilt overnight, Shen Nian offered her a chance to work more ethically in the future. Tessa, quiet sincerity.
I never believed you deserved all that hate. I'm sorry.
Shen Nian accepted the apology with reserved grace, hoping Tessa might truly change. Under a canopy of soft lights, Gucci slipped a simple but elegant ring onto Shen Nian's finger. Miss Gu, beaming proudly, strolled around the garden, making sure every guest had enough refreshments and chatting with Iontech's CEO, Tom Parker, about possibly collaborating on more community initiatives. When the evening gently wound down, Shen Nian found a moment alone with Gucci beside a serene koi pond. The reflection of moonlight rippled across the water, illuminating their expressions. Shen Nian, exhaling contentedly,
I never imagined my life would take such a turn. I thought I'd just handle wage claims and do legal grunt work behind the scenes.
Life's full of twists we can't see coming. But you've embraced every challenge. I'm so proud to stand beside you.
She turned to him, her heart full of gratitude for Miss Gu's mentorship, for the trust Iontech had placed in her, for the workers she'd helped, and for this unexpected love that anchored everything.
Thank you for believing in me, for wanting to share this path.
We'll shape something wonderful, you and I. A life of genuine purpose, and maybe a few more surprises along the way.
They shared a quiet laugh, the soft hum of the city in the distance serving as the soundtrack to their new beginning. Shortly afterward, Mu Qing retreated from Los Angeles, presumably licking her wounds. She kept a low profile, but rumors suggested she was plotting a return with another scheme. Tessa and Harvey, chastened by recent events, vowed to conduct themselves with more honesty at the firm, or so they claimed. Meanwhile, Miss Gu continued overseeing her grandson's endeavors, ensuring that good deeds and fair treatment remained at the core of their practice. And Shen Nian, newly engaged and freshly recognized as a star attorney, balanced her passion for corporate law with her dedication to social causes, proving that compassion and ambition could coexist. Whether she was sealing a billion-dollar deal or fighting for underpaid laborers, her sense of justice guided her. Months later, she'd still reflect on the day she defended a quiet, silver-haired janitor from the taunts of arrogant coworkers. That single, compassionate act became the key to a destiny far brighter than she had ever imagined. And under the warm California sun, in a city known for reinvention, Shen Nian and Gu Qi started forging a legacy not just for themselves, but for everyone they touched, leading with integrity, championing equality, and embracing love's surprising turns. If you were the main character, what would you do in Shen Nian's place? Comment below and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story, there's another video on screen right now. Go ahead and give it a look for an even more astonishing tale. And don't forget, we'll have many more uplifting and dramatic stories coming your way, so make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way, you'll never miss our newest uploads.